Earth's orbital station horizon floated quietly above the planet. Commander Patricia Kane stood in her office, looking out at the stars. Then something changed. A huge alien ship appeared in front of her window. The communication system buzzed. "Commander, we have visitors," said Lieutenant Chris Walker. "They say they're from the Galactic Council." Kane sighed and walked to the meeting room. It was time to face whatever mess was coming her way. The alien looked like a tall lizard wearing fancy robes. Its 4 eyes blinked slowly. A translator drone floated beside it, speaking in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Vextil of the Galactic Council," the drone translated. "You will stop expanding into the Outer Rim territories immediately." Patricia Kane sat down and crossed her arms. She had dealt with bullies before. And why would we do that? "Because those systems belong to us," the ambassador said. "We discovered them first. We claim them. You humans must pull back all your ships and colonies within 30 solar cycles." Kane raised an eyebrow. "Or what?" "Or we will cut off all trade with Earth. No alien technology. No medicine. No fuel. Your ships won't work without our quantum drives. Your sick will die without our healing tech. You will be alone in the galaxy." Chief Engineer Timothy Walsh stood quietly in the corner. He had designed most of Horizon's systems himself, without alien help. He smiled but said nothing. Kane leaned forward. "That's it? You're threatening us with being alone?" The ambassador's 4 eyes widened. Humans were supposed to be afraid. They needed the Council like all other species did. "Do you understand what isolation means?" Vex still asked. "Your primitive species cannot survive without our guidance. Without our networks, you have nothing." "Let me think about it," Kane said slowly. She pretended to consider the offer. After a long pause, she spoke again. "We'll take that under advisement." The translator drone buzzed in confusion. "Under advisement? Do you not comprehend the seriousness of this situation?" Kane stood up and walked to the window. "I understand perfectly. You want us to leave the Outer Rim systems. And if we don't, you'll stop trading with us." She turned back to face the ambassador. "We heard you loud and clear. Then you will comply." "I said we'll think about it. Would you like some coffee while we discuss the details?" Hours later, Vextil returned to his ship, completely confused. The humans had been polite. They had given him tours of their station. They had explained their farming systems, their power generation, and their shipbuilding yards. But they hadn't shown any fear at all. Back in her office, Kane called a meeting. Her senior staff gathered around the table. "Well, we have 30 days to leave the Outer Rim," she said. "What do you all think?" Dr. Rebecca Torres, the xenobiology expert, smiled. "I think they have no idea what they're dealing with. Our colonies are already producing their own food," said Walsh. "Mars has been growing crops for 5 years without alien fertilizers." Kane nodded. "What about the quantum drives they mentioned?" "We stopped using those last year," Walsh explained. "Remember, we developed our own FTL system. It's actually 20% more efficient than theirs." The room grew quiet as the reality sank in. Earth didn't need the Galactic Council anymore. They hadn't needed them for a while. "Should we tell them?" asked Torres. Kane thought for a moment. "No, let them find out themselves. Besides, we said we'd take it under advisement. We never promised anything." Across the galaxy, the Council waited for Earth's response. They expected fear, panic, and surrender. They expected Earth to beg for mercy. They had seen countless species bow to their demands. But this time, things would be different. This time, they didn't know that Earth's children had grown up. On Nexus Prime, the Council chamber buzzed with tension. 12 species sat around the enormous crystal table. Each member wore their finest ceremonial robes, but their faces showed concern. Senior Counselor Zerkath stood up. He was ancient, even by galactic standards. "Ambassador Vextil, explain what happened. These humans, did they agree to our terms?" Vextil shifted uncomfortably. "They said They would take it under advisement. Under advisement. Counselor Tivek slammed his tentacle on the table. We gave them an ultimatum. How dare they dismiss us? They were very polite, Vec still added. They offered food and tours. They showed no fear at all. The youngest council member, Wynera, spoke up. Perhaps they don't understand. Humans are still new to galactic politics. Maybe they need more explanation. Zerkath nodded slowly. Analyst Mtak, what does our intelligence say about humans? Mtak opened his datapad. His multiple eyes scanned the information quickly. Interesting patterns, senior counselor. Humans have a history of surviving in isolation. They lived on islands with no contact for thousands of years. They built colonies in dangerous places on their own planet. But those were before space travel. Tivek interrupted. They need our technology now. Do they? Mtak continued reading. Our scouts report something unexpected. Human colonies in the Outer Rim already grow their own food. They mine their own resources. They even modified their ships to run without our quantum drives. The chamber fell silent. This was not normal. New species always depended on the Council. They needed guidance, technology, and trade networks. Without these things, they usually failed within months. How is this possible? Inara asked. They've only been in space for 50 Earth years. Their engineers are creative, Mtak explained. They take our technology and change it, make it better sometimes. They found new minerals in their asteroid belt that work just as well as our rare elements. Counselor Shida, who rarely spoke, broke the silence. We created a system where everyone needs us. But what if someone doesn't? The question made everyone uncomfortable. The Council's power came from dependence. Every species needed Council networks to trade. They needed Council medicine to stay healthy. They needed Council approval to expand their territories. Enough speculation, Zerkath decided. Inara, lead a fact-finding mission to their home system. We need to understand these humans better. 3 days later, Inara's research ship arrived at Earth. She expected to find a primitive world, struggling to maintain its space presence. Instead, she found something shocking. Earth's orbital space was crowded with stations. Ships moved in organized patterns, like a perfectly choreographed dance. The planet below glowed with lights and green forests. It looked healthy and alive. Inara's scanner picked up signals from Mars. The red planet had green patches, gardens growing under domes. Jupiter had mining stations around its moons. The asteroid belt showed signs of regular activity. This is impossible, she whispered to her crew. They'd built all this without Council help. Her communications officer looked up. Ambassador, they're greeting us. They're offering to give us a tour. Once again, humans showed perfect hospitality. They explained their farming systems, their power generation, their mining operations. They even showed Wynera their shipyards, where new vessels were being built. But you need our quantum drives, Inara asked, confused. The human guide, a cheerful woman named Susan Wright, smiled. Oh no, we developed our own FTL system last year. Works pretty well, actually. Want to see the engine room? Yenara realized with growing horror that the Council had misunderstood everything. Earth hadn't been lucky or special. They had simply done what humans always did. Adapted, innovated, and survived. On her way back to Nexus Prime, Yenara prepared her report. The Council needed to know. Humans weren't primitive newcomers begging for scraps. They were equals who didn't need permission to explore the stars. On Mars, the morning sun painted the sky orange-pink. Inside the main dome, Governor Ryan Matthews walked through rows of corn and tomatoes. The plants grew tall and healthy in the Martian soil. How's the new crop looking? He asked his head farmer, Ellen Baker. Excellent, Ellen replied, checking her tablet. We're producing 40% more than last year. The Council's fertilizers barely helped anyway. Ryan smiled. Mars had solved its food problem years ago. They even shipped surplus to the outer colonies now. No alien trade required. In the asteroid belt, Lisa Chang's mining ship Fortune floated near a large rock. Her crew worked efficiently, cutting chunks of rare minerals from the surface. "Captain," called out her first mate, James Lee, "we're pulling up more Veldium than projected. These asteroids have twice what the Council said was possible." Lisa laughed. "They told us this stuff was rare, worth its weight in gold. Turns out, we're swimming in it." The mining operation ran 24 hours a day. Human engineers had designed better extraction tools than any Council technology. Now Earth's system had more rare elements than it knew what to do with. Far from Earth, Captain Carlos Rivera commanded the cargo ship Pioneer. His route took him between human colonies without touching any Council space. Today, he was heading to the Outer Rim. "Sir, the Council patrol is hailing us," reported his navigator, Maria Santos. "Put them through," Carlos ordered. A Council officer appeared on screen. "Cargo ship, you are entering restricted space. Turn back immediately." Carlos raised an eyebrow. "Restricted? Says who? Last I checked, space belongs to everyone who can navigate it. The Council has declared this area off-limits. You must comply." "We'll take our chances," Carlos said smoothly. "This route saves us 3 days of travel. The colonies need their supplies." The Council ship tried to follow, but Pioneer's engines were faster. Human ships had gotten very good at moving quickly through space. The patrol gave up after an hour. Meanwhile, Dr. Kevin Lai worked in his lab on Colony Prime. Bottles and tubes filled the shelves around him. He mixed chemicals carefully, creating a yellow liquid. "Another successful batch," he announced to his assistant, Rachel Kim. "This synthetic medicine works just as well as the alien stuff. Maybe better." Rachel nodded. "We've replaced 80% of their pharmaceuticals now. The colonists haven't noticed any difference in quality." Their breakthrough had come from studying alien plants thoroughly. Humans discovered they could make similar compounds from their own resources. No need to buy from Council suppliers at high prices. In a conference room on Station Horizon, 5 colony leaders met virtually. The hologram projections made them appear to sit at the same table. "Let's review our situation," said Patricia Kane. "Mars, what's your status?" "Food production exceeds demand by 35%, Ryan reported. "We could feed double our population." Lisa Chung spoke next. "Asteroid mining operations are running at 200% efficiency. Got more resources than we can process right now. Shipping and logistics are solid," Carlos added. "All colonies connected through human-only routes. No Council checkpoints to slow us down." "And medical supplies?" Patricia asked. "Fully independent," Kevin confirmed. "We've replaced every critical alien medication, even invented some new ones." Patricia leaned back in her chair. The reports were better than expected. Earth's colonies didn't just survive without Council help. They thrived. Each system had found clever solutions to problems the Council said couldn't be solved. "What about defense?" someone asked. "Working on it," Patricia replied. "We've adapted some civilian technology for protection. It's not perfect, but it's improving daily." The meeting ended with everyone feeling confident. The Council's threat of isolation seemed less scary now. In fact, some leaders wondered if isolation might be a blessing in disguise. Outside, a human scout ship returned from the edge of Council space. Its mission had been to observe and learn. What it discovered would change everything. The Council's mighty fleet wasn't as impressive as their reputation suggested. Human innovation had closed the technology gap faster than anyone expected. On Colony Prime, Administrator Michelle Porter sat in her office with journalist Aaron Schmidt. Outside the window, buildings sparkled in the twin sunset. This colony orbited a double star system, far from Earth but feeling like home. "People back on Earth are worried," Aaron began. "What if the Council really cuts us off? What happens then?" Michelle smiled, offering him coffee from a steaming pot. "May I show you something first?" She led him through the colony's main complex. They passed the hydroponics bay where vegetables grew in neat rows. Workers in blue jumpsuits tended to the plants. All this food, grown here, Michelle explained. We use solar power and our own water recycling system. Nothing alien about it. Next, they'd visited the power plant. Massive fusion reactors hummed quietly behind safety glass. Chief Engineer David Park greeted them warmly. "These babies power the entire colony," David said, patting the console. "Human design, built right here. They outperform the Council's fusion tech by 15%. Aaron took notes, impressed. "You built this yourselves?" "Had to," David chuckled. "Council charges too much for their generators. We figured out how to make our own." Their tour continued to the medical center. Dr. Kevin Lee showed them around the facility. Modern equipment lined the walls, everything clean and organized. "This is our pharmaceutical lab," Kevin explained. "We create all our medicines here. Started when council prices got ridiculous for basic drugs." "What about complex treatments?" Aaron asked. "Watch this." Kevin pulled up a hologram. "This is our cancer treatment. Works better than what the council sells, costs 1/10 as much to produce." Michelle noticed Aaron's surprised expression. "We had good motivation to learn quickly," she said. "When you're 3 months from the nearest council pharmacy and people need medicine, you figure things out." They visited the Starship repair dock next. Captain Nancy Reed's ship Thunder was being serviced. Parts and tools floated in zero gravity as crew worked on the engine. "Council quantum drives are complicated," Nancy explained, floating up to greet them. "So we simplified the design. Our version uses less power, easier to fix, flies just as fast." After the tour, they'd returned to Michelle's office. The colony bustled below them, people working, children playing in parks, life happening normally despite being light years from human civilization. "The council thinks isolation will hurt us," Michelle said thoughtfully. "But we've been preparing without realizing it. Every time their prices went up, we invented alternatives. Every time they told us something was impossible, we proved them wrong." Aaron leaned forward, fascinated. "What's the biggest misconception about human colonies?" "That we're helpless without alien technology," Michelle answered immediately. "Truth is, we're better at adapting than any species they've ever met. You starve on an island. You learn to fish. You freeze on a mountain. You learn to build shelter." She pointed to a star map on her wall. "The council thinks they're doing us a favor by allowing us into space. They don't understand. Space is just another frontier. Humans always push into new frontiers." Outside, a new ship landed. Aaron watched families greet returning travelers with hugs and laughter. This colony was alive, thriving, completely independent. "So what happens when the council enforces their deadline?" Aaron asked. Michelle shrugged. "Same thing that happened when they cut off 3 other colonies last month. We'll trade more with the Drenth and Kalor instead. They appreciate our fair dealings and honest prices." Other colonies were cut off. Aaron was surprised. "Small ones, testing cases. They're doing fine," Michelle said. "Actually, they're doing better. No more council regulations, no more council taxes, no more council telling them what they can and can't do." The interview ended with a question that Aaron hadn't expected to ask. "Are you saying humanity doesn't need the Galactic Council at all?" Michelle's answer was simple. "We're saying the council forgot that independence isn't a punishment. It's an opportunity." The council chamber erupted in chaos. Ainara stood at the center, holding her report while other members shouted, "Impossible." Tivek slammed his tentacle down. "They cannot be this advanced already." Senior Counselor Zerkath raised his hand for silence. "Commissioner Tivek, explain your findings from the latest inspection." Tivek activated his hologram. 3 human colonies have stopped all council trade. They continue operating at full capacity. No signs of struggle or decline. "This is concerning," murmured Counselor Shida. Our sanctions usually work within weeks. Inara stepped forward. My research shows why. Humans reverse engineer our technology faster than any species we've seen. They study something once, then improve it. The hologram change, showing human ships in action. Their vessels no longer use our quantum drives. They developed neutron pulse engines instead, less complicated, but equally effective. Zerkath studied the data carefully. When did this happen? 6 months ago, Yunara replied. They'd been quietly replacing our technology across all sectors. Tvek couldn't believe it. Without permission. Without our guidance. They didn't ask permission, Yunara said simply. They just did it. Mtak the analyst clicked his multiple claws nervously. We have another problem. 3 non-council species are now trading directly with humans. The Drenth offer them unique metals. The Kalor want human medical innovations. The Galactic Order is falling apart. Tvek panicked. Without our control. Enough, Zerkath interrupted. We proceed with full sanctions immediately. Commissioner Tvek, implement the blockade. Days later, human trade ships from Saturn's moon Titan approached Council space. Captain Daniel Murphy commanded the patrol ship Guardian. Its scanner detected Council blockade vessels ahead. This is Council border control, a voice announced. Turn back immediately. Human ships banned from entering. Daniel smiled at his crew. Just like we practiced, everyone. Navigator, set course for the Drenth Junction. Communications, open all channels. Guardian to all human vessels, Daniel broadcast. Council blockade confirmed. Switch to alternate routes. No delays expected. The human convoy simply turned away. Within hours, they docked at the Drenth trading post. The rock people greeted them eagerly, unloading precious minerals in exchange for human electronics. Back on Nexus Prime, Council members gathered around the main display. The blockade status showed a shocking reality. Only 6 human ships had approached Council space that day. 6. Where are the others? Tvek demanded. Earth has hundreds of ships. Mtak checked his network. They're trading with non-council species. The Drenth alone handles 60 human ships daily now. But that's against regulations. Tvek sputtered. The Drenth never signed our regulations, Zerkath reminded him grimly. Neither did the Kalor or the Nexer. The terrible truth settled in. The Council only controlled species that chose to join them. Many others existed outside their influence, especially in frontier regions where humans now operated. Emergency reports poured in. Human ships were helping smaller species resist Council influence. They offered better trade terms, shared technology freely, and asked for nothing but fair exchange. On the planet Krell, a newly independent species sent a message. We thank the Galactic Council for their past guidance. However, we will now trade with humans. Their prices are honest, their technology is reliable, and they don't demand control in return for friendship. Inara watched her elders' faces turn pale. The system they'd built over millennia was crumbling. Species didn't need the Council anymore. Humans had shown them an alternative. What have we done? Whispered Shida. In the following week, 5 more species declared independence from Council control. Each mentioned human assistance, human technology, or the human example as their inspiration. Tvek slumped in his chair. We meant to punish them with isolation. Instead, we isolated ourselves. The room fell silent as the reality sank in. The blockade hadn't weakened humanity. It had weakened the Council. Trading partners were leaving. Influence was dwindling. Their millennium-old system of control was breaking apart, and the humans had barely noticed. In the Council's military command center, Fleet Commander Zarnex studied the star map. Red markers showed human ships spreading across the galaxy. Each day, more appeared. We've tried warnings. We've tried blockades. Now we show strength, Zarnex announced to his staff. Ready the war fleet. His second officer, Corell, hesitated. Commander, do we know the full extent of human military capabilities? They're a young species, Zarnex dismissed. Our dreadnought, Heaven's Judgment alone can destroy a planet. What could they have that compares? At Earth's Space Fleet Command, Admiral Karen Mitchell received the alert. Council warships were mobilizing, moving toward the border with human space. Status report, she commanded. 7,000 Council vessels forming up, reported Colonel Peter Wright, led by their heavy dreadnoughts. Karen rubbed her temples. Numbers don't tell the whole story. What's our intel on their capabilities? Heaven's Judgment has massive energy shields and plasma cannons, but they're designed for heavy bombardment, not maneuver warfare, Peter explained. Good. Implement Defense Plan Delta. No aggression, but full readiness. Across human space, ships quietly moved into position. Not confrontational, but calculated. Captain Gregory Price aboard the Democracy reached the edge of Council space first. All stop, Gregory ordered. Passive scans only. Record everything, but don't provoke. Meanwhile, Colonial Governor Vincent Bradley coordinated civilian evacuation plans, not because humans planned to surrender, but because they prepared for everything. Colonies closer to the border should move non-essential personnel deeper into human space, he instructed. This is precautionary only. As Council ships gathered, humans noticed something interesting. The war fleet arranged in traditional formation. Heavy ships in front, lighter support vessels behind. A pattern 3,000 years old. Captain Sarah Douglas, commanding the destroyer Freedom, smiled at her tactical officer. Look at that formation, Tim. Like something from a history textbook. They're very organized, Tim replied. Organized like a parade, Sarah corrected. But wars aren't won by looking impressive. The human fleet maintained distance but observed carefully. Earth's military academies had studied every recorded Council battle. Their tactics were powerful but predictable. Back on Earth, people watched news coverage calmly. Unlike the Council's experience with other species, humans didn't panic under pressure. They'd lived through world wars, survived nuclear threats, and faced existential challenges before. If they want to fight, we'll defend ourselves, stated General Mark Harrison in a press conference. But we prefer peace. The Council fleet continued its show of force, crossing the neutral zone. Thousands of ships in perfect formation, an impressive sight. Commander Zarnex opened communications. This is Fleet Commander Zarnex to human forces. You have one final chance to accept Council authority. Surrender now or face annihilation. Admiral Mitchell responded from her command ship. This is Admiral Karen Mitchell. We respect your position. We have no intention of fighting unless attacked. Then witness our power, Zarnex declared. But as the Council ships advanced, something unexpected happened. Small objects released from human ships, not weapons, but sensor probes. Thousands of tiny devices spread throughout the approaching fleet. What are they doing? Krill asked nervously. Scanning us, Zarnex realized. Learning our fleet composition. The sensor net gathered everything. Shield frequencies, weapon signatures, communication channels, engine outputs. Every detail about Council military technology recorded and analyzed. On Democracy, Captain Price uploaded the data to Fleet Command. Complete scans transmitted, Admiral. They've never changed their technology in centuries. Karen Mitchell reviewed the information. Council ships were exactly what intelligence predicted. Powerful but rigid, strong but inflexible. All ships maintain defensive posture, she ordered. Do not fire unless fired upon. Let them see we won't be intimidated, but we won't be the aggressors either. The tension mounted as thousands of warships faced each other across space. Council members watched nervously from Nexus Prime. This was their ultimate threat, their final card to play. But humans had prepared for this too. Not with fear or surrender, but with another quiet plan. The standoff stretched into its second day. Council and human fleets faced each other across the empty space between systems. On the bridge of Heaven's Judgment, Fleet Commander Zarnex grew impatient. "They should have surrendered by now," he told Corel. "All species submit to our show of force." "Perhaps we should attack first," Corel suggested. Before Zarnex could answer, a message came through on all channels. Ambassador Patricia Kane appeared on every screen, broadcasting from Station Horizon. "Greetings to the Galactic Council fleet," she said calmly. "We respect your decision to cut ties. We wish you well." That was it. No threats. No anger. Just polite words. On the flagship Defiance, Admiral Mitchell ordered her fleet to maintain defensive formation. Hold position. No aggressive moves. Across the galaxy, human ships began a coordinated withdrawal from Council space. Medical stations closed their doors. Trade outposts powered down. Diplomatic facilities went dark. Council officers watched in confusion as humans made good on their words. They weren't fighting. They weren't fleeing in panic. They were simply leaving. "What are they doing?" Tivek demanded from Nexus Prime. "This isn't how things work." Human cargo ships departed smoothly, carrying their technology with them. Mining equipment, medical supplies, food processors, all heading back to human space. Captain Carlos Rivera's Pioneer was among the last to leave. As he passed a council checkpoint, he tipped an imaginary hat to their commander. "Thanks for the memories. Take care." Days passed. The council fleet hovered uncertainly at the border. No targets to attack. No begging for mercy. Just empty space where human facilities used to be. "Should we press the attack?" Krill asked Zarnex. "Attack what?" "They're leaving." Zarnex's frustration grew. "We're the ones who look foolish now." 6 months later, the Galactic Council faced a crisis. Without human trade, their economy stumbled. Without human innovations, progress slowed. Without human problem-solving, old issues resurfaced. Junior Counselor Inara delivered the harsh report. 7 species have left the Council, inspired by human independence. 12 more demand better trade terms, or they'll join the defectors. "But we showed our strength." Tivek protested. "Strength against what?" Inara asked pointedly. "We aimed our weapons at ships already departing." Meanwhile, human space flourished. Trade with the Drenth and Kelor expanded. New alliances formed with non-council species. Technology advanced without restrictions. On Colony Prime, journalist Aaron Schmidt wrote his follow-up article, "The Galaxy After the Galactic Council. Humans Show a Different Way." He interviewed Administrator Michelle Porter one last time. "Any regrets about independence?" "Only that we didn't do it sooner," Michelle smiled. "We spent years trying to fit into their system. Turns out, we were better off on our own." Back on Nexus Prime, the Council struggled to maintain relevance. Their grand fleet remained on alert, but for what? The threat had simply sailed away, leaving them with empty victories. "We won," Zerkath said bitterly in a private meeting. "But what did we win?" Councillor Shitta provided the answer. "We won the right to continue as we were." But the galaxy has moved on. The universe proved large enough for multiple approaches. While the Council maintained their rigid order, human space became a nexus of innovation and cooperation. Species joined not through coercion, but by choice. 50 years later, historians would debate the Council's biggest mistake. Some said threatening humans. Others said underestimating them. The truth was simpler. They forgot that respect and friendship matter more than fear and control. In the end, humans had proven that sometimes the best response to a threat is not confrontation, but confidence. The Galactic Council wanted submission. They got independence. They demanded fear. They got indifference. And across the stars, humanity continued its journey, setting its own course through the infinite darkness of space.